Everybody, I just got back from watching the new Stephen King adaptation, The Long Walk. And yeah, walking into this one, I wasn't entirely sure what to expect tone-wise. You know, I figured it would be kind of bleak, but, you know, over the last several decades now, we've been treated to a lot of dystopian future with, you know, teens or young adults having to fight in some kind of competition type thing. You know, this is a premise that we've seen many times before, but this is a Stephen King film, so I figured it would probably be different. And yeah, it definitely was. You know, like I know there's a lot of people out there that are gonna be like, oh, so like the Hunger Games, I guess. Not quite. Yeah, this movie is bleak, and it's, you know, at times it's funny, but at times it's depressing. And you know, it's very emotion driven, character driven, and surprisingly they were able to make a movie about a group of people walking not boring. Like, not once was I bored, and it's because they managed to keep throwing obstacles at these people. The weather keeps changing, people are getting sick, people are getting injured, people are losing hope, you know, and along the way they're becoming friends, and they're having all these discussions about life and hope and philosophy and just all this stuff, right? I will say one thing I kind of wish I got a little bit more of was, you know, maybe the structure of this dystopian future, because you only get kind of vague ideas that there was some kind of war, and Mark Hamill's character, the Major, is seemingly the leader of this entire government. It's not entirely made clear exactly what the power structure is, or, you know, if by the end of this the thing that happens is going to actually change anything. So I will also say that, like, while the ending is, I think, emotionally satisfying, like you get that catharsis, right? You also are probably still going to be left with questions of being like, okay, but what happens now? You know, like, and not that I guess we necessarily need a sequel or anything, but you know, it is definitely one of those things where, like, okay, but what does that mean, like, now that that happened? I don't know. But I will say, yeah, from a character standpoint and in the way that they make you feel with these characters, it really works. The actors they got to play, you know, especially the central core, you know, 3 or 4 people that were kind of staying with the whole movie, they did their jobs really well, because, man, you feel it. You feel this one. And yeah, I think there's also, like, you know, let's be honest here, Stephen King's not exactly subtle about his political leanings, right? So there's definitely things you can read into this and be like, okay, well, this is an allegory for this, and this is an allegory for that. You know, I did discover only afterwards that, like, oh, this book was written like in the 70s. I didn't realize that. So that's kind of even more interesting when you think about, like, okay, let's see, 70s time period, what was happening then? But yeah, just in any case, I think this was a pretty great movie. If I had to describe it for people who, like, you know, like me, who have only ever seen like the Stephen King movies, I've never read any of his books, which I should probably get on, I guess. But anyways, it's probably like a Stand By Me meets The Shawshank Redemption, you know? Like, I think it's kind of a blend in there, right? Like, we're like, hey, characters are on a journey, they're walking, they're getting to know each other, they're having these talks and discussions, but you mix that with, like, a lot of death, like from the premise of it, you know, many of these characters are not going to make it, so of course go in there expecting that. Like, that's what the premise of the movie is. But yeah, like I said, it's a satisfying enough movie, and I think, you know, it's definitely one of those ones where you're like, oh yeah, I definitely get a lot of Stand By Me vibes. So if, like, that's one of your movies that you go to and you're like, yeah, that's a good 80s movie, this feels a lot like that, just, I guess, tone wise, right? Like, that's like a lot of the feeling I was getting, but with a little bit more of a, you know, horror element thrown in, because yeah, people are constantly dying. So yeah, and by the way, when they show these deaths, you know, some of them are quite graphic, right? And you know, just be prepared for that, I guess. You know, like, just go in knowing that, like, hey, this is not like where you know, I gotta bring up the Hunger Games again. This is not like where in the Hunger Games it's a PG-13 movie, so like even though yeah people are dying, it's gonna be very quick, mostly off screen. You're not gonna see a lot of it. Like no, several of these you see the whole thing happen, and it is brutal and it is like oof. All right, yeah, this is kind of a horror movie, I guess, in that sense of like oh that was pretty messed up. But yeah, overall, had a great time. Kind of wish I knew more about the world, but you know, I did look up the premise of the novel, and at least from the premise that I read, the novel doesn't seem to expand on the world really any much more than the movie does. So I guess this is it. It's not like they left things out of the movie. It's kind of, this is just all we're given. So I want to know more about the world, but I don't know. That's what we get. So, you know, be prepared for that of that feeling of like, oh, I kind of wish we got to learn more about. So what is what is the government right now? That kind of thing. Anyways, yeah. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys later. Bye.